It says we're live. So, welcome from the crossroads of America. The talk show about guns, politics, or anything else that crosses my mind. We'll answer questions from the audience, put them in the chat, or email me at rickslife@gmail.com or spottedrick@gmail.com. I got a Patreon page, PayPal, Spreadshirt, and all that other good stuff all down in the links, below. I know I'm late, Kingpin. Don't blame me. Blame Guns and Barbecue. He wouldn't shut up, so I couldn't go live till he finished. All right. No, okay. So here we are. Let's see who's in. First in today was DJ Play Nice. And he's a football fan. Oh, well, I guess there's one or two still left. Well, Monty, Vanessa Kitty, 2 Live Move, Kingpin, Raphael's here. They're starting to drop in now. But back to what you were saying, Guns and Barbecue, we were talking about, the voting and stuff before we went live. And to me, I still don't. I understand what you're saying that the counties and stuff around Philadelphia and stuff are so densely populated, but it's amazing how once they knew how many votes they needed, they managed to come up with them to take the lead. That's all. I'm not accusing them of anything. I'm just saying. It's amazing how they knew what they needed to win, and they happen to have that many in those counties. So, anyway, as people are starting to trickle in, let's introduce my panel. I've got from the state of New York. I got New York Outcast. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. Thanks for joining us.
Yep. Then. From the city should we say New York City? It's New York City, New York, isn't it? Or is it in the house pronounced New York City of New York? Blind Shooter, how you doing?
Doing good, Rick. And I'm just going to say, when the ballot box fails, Americans should resort to the cartridge box.
Yeah. Then we got Guns and Barbecue. How you doing?
I'm pretty. How about yourself, Rick?
All right. No, but did you hear what I was saying? That is, I understand where you're coming from on that. The amount of bodies in that particular dense area, but it's amazing how they knew what they needed to win. All of a sudden, they had them in that area. The amount of votes they needed. It just strange.
But that's like saying what and.
You're roboting on me.
Several counties. Oh, am I really crap?
What's that? You got a kitten?
Any better?
Yeah. I didn't know you had a cat in New York Outcast.
Is that better? Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so let's
this is a new one.
Hold on a minute there, Guns and Barbecue. New York Outcast put his camera on a cat. Yeah.
That's a new one. Just rescued her, I guess you could state. So
okay.
Under a porch.
All right. It looks like he's doing okay right now.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, she doesn't do much. Eat and sleep. Got her using a litter box, so
and that's what cats do.
But yeah.
All right, sorry, Guns and Barbecue. Go back to what you were saying. Now we could hear you.
No, you're fine. Let's say I'm hoping I'm cleared up now.
You are.
But no, what I was gonna say was let's say Philadelphia and Allegheny County and the several counties around Philadelphia County reported in first. We wouldn't be sitting here saying, oh, miraculously they got the number that they needed it would have been, oh wow, he's got a hell of a lead, and then we would have been sitting here going, oh well, Trump made it close with all the other counties, but no cigar. And again, if you bring in the talks about fraud and stuff like that, I'm not saying there wasn't fraud or anything like that. There's a lot of funny stories out there, but when you're talking about the lead that Trump had, it was because of all the small counties that were able to count their ballots first and get reported in, and they were still waiting on those very dense population areas to report in. And once those start coming in, which are typically going to be blue votes, that's where we started to see that swing.
All right. I see what you're saying.
I'd
All
still
right.
think
Hey, somebody I ain't seen in a long time. Hey, Squib, how you doing?
Fairly disappointed. Am I echoing?
No, a little bit of road noise, but otherwise you're doing all right. What are you disappointed in? The
The
election?
Second Amendment community online.
What, sounding defeated?
Sounding. That's an understatement.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I mean, I was talking that way myself a little bit. I mean, I've lost faith in the system. Really. I was saying, is it worth ever voting again? Because I've lost faith in the total system. But we'll see. It hasn't been called yet. Kingpin, he says, I'm with Squib. So there you go. There's people out there like you, Squib. You agree there?
Yep, like me.
Well,
We just went over this before we started.
They're openly welcoming
it's the programming's getting the people even on our side, so it's an issue.
Let Squib finish. Go on, Squib.
No, he said what I wanted to say.
Oh, okay. All right. So Kingpin says, don't lose faith in Trump. There was a great rally they had today in Washington, D.C., but rallies don't get votes. If they manufacturing votes through mail-in ballots, which miraculously keep showing up, But then Patriot in the Dark says if there's credible fraud, they would not be talking about it, since that would void any use in court. So,
There's fraud. This isn't the biggest county in the state reported last, and that's how they won. No, there's fraud.
But Squib, again, we've got 67 counties in Pennsylvania. You take the bottom 34, and they are still 28,000 people short of Philadelphia County.
Okay, in all of these states
That's
that are
51% of the counties in Pennsylvania still don't equal.
now you're roboting on us again.
Go ahead.
Go on, Squibby was roboting. He's redoing something. Somebody say something.
So here's the deal.
Yeah.
In the states that are contested, all the states did the same thing. The biggest, bluest counties in the state all waited till 4 a.m. to start counting votes. Coincidence? No. And there's been reports, both true and false. There's plausible reports. They make sense. They add up. And then there's other reports that have just been plain bullshit. I'm not going to say that they're plants from the left or they're people on the right who believe everything they see and hear. But there's lots of plausible stuff out there that has been reported with regard to fraud. Now, every year or every election, there is some fraud. Every election, there are some errors. Taking errors out, and you still don't end up with what you end up with. And you can explain some stuff by going, well, some people registered to vote on the election day, and that's why the numbers don't add up. Or some people just marked on their mail-in ballot Biden and mailed it in, and it still doesn't add up. And like you said, Rick, isn't it interesting how after everybody else reports in, these counties report in just enough votes to get Biden over the top?
Yeah. Yeah.
If somebody wants to say, oh, no, that's legit, I'm calling bullshit. I'm not calling bullshit because I'm a sore loser. I'm calling bullshit because so many people that I have talked to, people I know, people I don't know, were saying they're voting for Trump. Trump signs all over, Trump billboards all over, Trump rallies where tens of thousands of people show up, Biden rallies where tens of people show up. There were people that were in the middle, or whatever you want to call it. They were saying, I'm throwing my vote away by voting for the Libertarian. And some of those people changed their mind at the end and said, no, even though I want to vote Libertarian, I know it's throwing it in the fire. I'm going to go ahead and vote for Trump. There were people of all different kinds of backgrounds. Everybody seems to think it's a bunch of right-wing Christian white people that voted for Trump and nobody else. There were all kinds of people. I was in line at Sam's Club last weekend. There's a guy behind me in line talking on his phone, and he is mad as hell. He goes, I hear one more person say something bad about Trump, I am going to fuck them up. I turn around, it's a black dude. It's a black dude. So don't tell me all of his votes were white people and all that. No, I'm not buying it. And you can go, well, that's great, but they don't make up the biggest part of the population. Bullshit. We've got 5 counties in the Metro Detroit area. Detroit is one city in one county. All the other counties, the suburbs are, constantly growing here. The majority of people in Michigan do not live within the city of Detroit. And even then, Wayne County in Detroit reports in. And what about all the suburbs that are around Detroit that are in Wayne County? It's just way too weird how there's virtually no votes for Trump, but there's just enough for Biden. And it's also weird how some of the other stuff doesn't add up. Like, they would, going back to the whole, they only marked Biden on the ballot. And they didn't mark anybody else. That's just nuts. 100,000 people only marked Biden on the ballot. I'm not buying it. And this whole thing, there's first time to vote, there's first time voters, and there's this and that. That'll make up for a certain amount of people. But we brought a first time voter with us to the polls, and we told him everything he needed to know about how to fill it out. Make sure you flip it over. There's stuff on the back. Make sure you don't mark more than this. This is what happens if you make a mistake, and how they fix it. All the things that a parent should be telling their child. So I'm not buying this amount in this many places all the same way at the same time. It's too, and I'm not a conspiracy guy. You guys know how I feel about that horse shit. Conspiracy guys do enough. They do enough fake news to they do the same damage as the fake news, but they don't mean it. The fake news does it on purpose because they're trying to change the narrative. Conspiracy people, guys, mean well, but they do the same amount of damage. This isn't a conspiracy to me.
No, it is. It just doesn't add up to me either. And unfortunately, it's not over till the fat lady sings, but she's standing on the stage getting ready to.
I disagree. I strongly disagree. And I think you're buying into what you're hearing on the mainstream media. If you go and you read the stories online, you watch on YouTube or on TV, they're saying Trump is the loser. Trump is falsely accusing of fraud, Trump this, Trump that, and they keep calling Joe Biden the new president and all that stuff. They're changing the narrative. This is just what you were saying when I first tuned in, that people are hearing this and they're repeating it. How many times have one of us, I'll tell you, I've done it, said protester when I really meant rioter? How many people in the 2A community use assault weapon, not when they're describing the title of a piece of legislation, but when they're describing a classification of guns that doesn't exist? Assault weapon is a made-up term. If the protest turns violent, they're rioters. Joe Biden doesn't have the office of president-elect. That's never existed before. The vote hasn't been certified. The press is out there saying it. And these people in the Second Amendment community, they're supposed to be tough. They're supposed to be able to fight. fight for our constitutional rights are rolling over, playing dead, and they're welcoming with open arms their new oppressive liberal overlords. To the point where I was getting in an argument last night with people saying we need Biden in office because he'll get the lazy people off their ass. I heard that bullshit under Obama, and they're butthurt over their stupid fucking bump stocks. Fuck those bump stocks.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing, too, is I've heard that argument, too, get them off their ass like they did it back in Obama's time with the all that shit. Obama didn't have the House. The House was Republican, and if you got the House or the Senate, you can shut the other party down. That's what they did.
No, you'll have to have
People thought they were going to give them a house.
So, what were you saying, Guns and Barbecue?
I said they'll have to have both because bills can't just go through the House and then the Senate say, nope, we're not doing it. And they're like, oh, well, the House voted on it, so we're doing it. They still got to get it through the Senate, too. So,
no, I understand what I was saying back in Obama's time, right? The Republicans had the House. They had the Senate and the president, right? The Senate could make a bill, but if the House doesn't agree with it, it doesn't go anywhere. And like right now, the House is Democrat and they're passing all kinds of bills, but it ain't going anywhere because the Senate is Republican. And I'm going back to the Obama time when 2A people were saying, look, we fought it big time back then. But it's the same situation as now. It's split. Each one has the House, one has the Senate. Nothing's going to get done. So it wasn't, I mean, if the 2A was so tough in 2013 and we stopped Obama dead, he didn't. If it was a Democrat House, Democrat Senate, and Democrat President, he would have passed every goddamn anti-gun bill there was. And if you say that wouldn't happen, look at fucking Virginia. Because they've got it across the board. They're passing all kinds of bullshit. Anyway, that's my little rant. I'm over.
Yeah, but people seem to be depending on Congress and the Supreme Court to protect us if the office of the presidency, no matter who's in office, no matter what letters by their name, turns on us. And the thing is, there are times where the office of the presidency, the executive branch, I should just say, overall, does things and nothing, it doesn't get contested, it doesn't get fought, it doesn't this, they sneak stuff in, they do this, they do that. Everything we have that works in our favor is useful to us, but it's not a guarantee. And for the people that have the logic that we need to have a more oppressive executive branch in order to inspire people to fight, that's stupid. That's like saying we got 100,000 guys and we're holding the line. Take 50,000 of them, send them over the line, get them all killed. And the other 50,000 that are on this side will want to fight harder now because, there's less to fight with. What?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. That's what I was trying to say in a roundabout way. Hey, Clover's joined us. How you doing? Talk to me, Clover.
Yeah, I've tried. Sorry I'm tardy. If it helps, I do have a note from the local gun shop.
Okay, all right. So did you hear, were you up on our discussion here?
No, I just jumped in, so.
We're talking about that we believe that the 2A is there's a couple of downers in the 2A community on the YouTube thing.
No,
a couple. That's putting it lightly.
No,
I know. I'm trying to be nice.
Well, here's the thing, and it's if you're all 2A all the time, or if you have some type of ulterior motives, of course. That's all you're going to focus on. And so I get it. It's all about perspective, and I get it. But that's not reality. If you live solely in a 2A frame of mind, then there's way more facets to life than that. That's an important one. It needs to make your top 3 list for darn sure, in my opinion. But there are other things. And so, yeah, I've been making this claim too, that I don't think, I guess you're talking about in relation to the political landscape, the federal political landscape, right? And what's going on there? Is that kind of what y'all are talking about?
We're talking about all the people that claim to be pro 2A, claim to be in the fight, claim to support the Constitution, and who have already said, you know what? The mainstream media is saying that Biden is our president, so I welcome with open arms Biden. And we don't have anything to worry about because, we've got Congress and the Supreme Court. So what's everybody bitching about? Those are the people I'm complaining about.
Well, those are valid arguments. I go a little bit further with looking at things from a general perspective, but it's also valid. A lot of people don't remember. They weren't around. They weren't paying attention to politics. What's happening now with the whole recount and the challenge thing and all of that? And I'm not saying Trump has a 90% shot of winning, or, I'm not making any claims like that, but I will say that this is not uncharted territory. This is not somewhere we haven't been before. People need to just cool their jets. Whatever happens. We'll deal with it then. I don't think we need to be freaking out about something at this point for darn sure. I mean, until we know what's going on, we need, but how is that any different than the jumps and the rushes to judgment that we've seen made over and over and over and over again on things that, oh, this guy's a conservative, or, oh, this guy is this, or, oh, this guy is that, in the mainstream news, and, crucifying people, be it a law enforcement officer, be it a, guy on the street that did nothing wrong, whichever side that coin happens to fall on. How often do we see those rushes to judgment in a court of public opinion? And how is this honestly now, we're being honest, how is this whole deal with the election process and all really any different? It's not. Both sides are guilty of the same exact things. And that's the hypocrisy that bugs me, is that it's, as long as it's your side doing the complaining, or is it your side doing the cheating, or is your side doing whatever it is, then that's fine. But as soon as the other side does it, oh, it's the end of the world and it's an atrocity. And both sides of any argument play that game, and it annoys the bejesus out of me.
Yeah, I think that there are people who don't remember this, don't remember that. They weren't active until, Sandy Hook. There's all kinds of people that didn't give two craps about any of this stuff till Sandy Hook, and suddenly they're like, hey, I'm a gun guy. And it's like, dude, that was a while ago, and yeah, a lot of things have happened for you to learn, but have you not been listening to the people that were doing this before you even picked up your first gun? And I'm not even talking about younger people. There's older people that were just like, oh, I used to go hunting with dad or skeet shooting or whatever, but I never cared about that. And now suddenly they care. And now they're going to act like they've got the perspective of somebody who went through this or went through that, or remembers this administration, remembers that, remembers when this happened and that, remembers before we had the internet where we can have the 24-hour news cycle or any of that garbage. And I think people on YouTube are guilty of rushing to be first, just like the mainstream media, because it gets them ratings. It gets them ratings. But I'm just kind of, look, if somebody backpedals their statement, if somebody quantifies their statement, if somebody prefaces their statement, that has more weight with me than just repeating what you're reading and hearing and seeing by the media that has an agenda. And you're helping that agenda because people on YouTube look to you, Mr. 2A guy who does videos, 2A guy or gal that has a live show or is a panelist or something like that. Especially the newer people, the Sandy Hookers and whatnot, look to you for their source of information because they look at you as an unbiased source of information. And when you are repeating the false information that the news is feeding us, you're helping the people who want to take away our rights win.
Well,
and you're better than that. You are better than that.
So here's what aggravates me again: it's the hypocritical attitude, it's the hypocrisy. So you're out there, you're listening to this, and let's just be honest, your butt hurt by what Squib's saying, right? So I want to put a thought in your head. If the mainstream media, which you hate so much, comes on air and tells you about something that Trump did or something that somebody did that maybe you like, maybe they're a Republican, whatever the case may be, and they cite an unnamed anonymous source, right? The first thing you're going to do, don't lie about it, is you're going to jump to a conspiracy theory, but blah, 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 you know, this, that, and the other. But yet, as Squib is saying, a lot of these online YouTubers, they get on, they write these big articles, they do these big videos, they stoke the flames of discontent, they stoke drama, and they cite an unnamed anonymous freaking resource. And I'm not saying that resource ain't valid. A lot of these guys, I know them personally, and so I have no doubt there's something there that somebody probably said something somewhere and something come down the pipe. But where's the objectivity that you apply to mainstream media when they present things in the same exact way, right? It's only fair. Otherwise, you're a hypocrite.
And see, the live shows kind of give us the opportunity to have an editorial. When you got a live show that's an echo chamber, I don't think you're really going to get a round, kind of a perspective. On the other hand, when you got somebody playing devil's advocate, they're playing. They might think they know what the other side, or they might use their experience dealing with the other side, but they're still acting. They're playing a part. It's difficult to get somebody who's on the other side on these shows. So all we really do have is the fact that we all come at it for different reasons, from different perspectives. We use different methods, but we're all in the fight. That's why I've been against this whole, we all need to band together crap. And then you make up your mind what you believe or what works best for you or what you think is most effective or what have you, and we'll all still be somewhat effective. Sure, it's great to combine our forces from time to time. It's great to collaborate, and it's great to find a way to try to accomplish more than one thing, with one task, have multiple outcomes, especially if they're beneficial to a lot of people. But the reality is people are just quick to jump and they skim the headlines and they just repeat bad information. And I'm not saying, oh, well, you've got to agree with me or else you're wrong. No, I'll fight you tooth and nail. And you may present something to me that I never thought of, and I might chew on that for a while, and I might change my opinion. Then again, I might not. I'm not here to convert you, and I definitely don't care if you try to convert me. But the thing is, we can share that stuff. And sometimes people do change their perspective, or they change their tactics, or they go, this hasn't been working. Maybe I'll try this, or I want to do more. What can I do? It's not copying other people, or it's not being led around, being drug around and being told what to do or controlled. Our politicians do enough of that crap. But when you play into the narrative, they are getting control. They'll get us to give up our stuff, because next the news will be saying, and now, President so-and-so says, turn in your guns. And then, these guys will be like, well, guess I better turn them in. And then all their followers will be like, yes, I will turn them in. You got to be careful about what you say and what you do.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, I want to backtrack a little to the other thing. I mean, even this morning, I'm reading an article where down in Florida, in is it Dale County or wherever it is down near Tampa, the
Dade County
has flipped 2 seats that have been Democrat since day zero are now Republican. I'm going back to this vote count. I know Trump won Florida, but where I'm going with this is how the Democrats lost a bunch of seats in the House this year. Their majority is down to, it ain't a lot. But where I'm going with is, I mean, a lot of people voted for Republicans in the House and stuff, but Biden still won a particular state. It just doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, I think there's something fishy going on. I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of it. But what I was saying was my faith in the system right now, in our vote and the way we vote in this country is pretty low. My faith in the system, And back to what you were saying, I was saying I'm not, as I said in my title, I don't plan on complying. I ain't giving up my firearms. All right. I mean, I know might be a losing thing here. Arrest me, as far as I'm concerned. I ain't giving them up. You're gonna arrest me. Same with other stuff. If he Indiana's already got a mandatory mask bullshit with this COVID, and Biden says he's going to come up and do it federally. No, I mean, I try not to wear one today as much as possible, But if I got to go shopping and every grocery store says I've got to wear one, unless I want to starve, I'm going to have to bite the bullet on that, and it frustrates the hell out of me, and I think it's, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm frustrated. I guess the word is I'm looking at. I'm frustrated right now because it's all gone wrong. And
Clover.
They know it, and they've done it. And what I'm frustrated about is they're going to get away with it.
Clover, in your experience, wouldn't you say that once something gets passed, some anti-gun legislation gets passed, it is more difficult to overturn it? Not impossible, but more difficult to overturn it than it is to fight it.
Not a regular damned occurrence, but no, I mean, spot on. Absolutely. I mean, there's a couple of sides to that coin that Squib's talking about. Yes, I think it's easier. Well, in this day and age right now with the makeup of the courts, and depending on where you're at, I don't necessarily know, but overall general terms, yes, it's easier to stop it in the legislative process. That said, what is to keep them from drafting additional legislation and other things, right? So the fear of legislation holding up to the scrutiny of the courts is certainly an issue. And should the courts rule on legislation, then that sort of puts the kibosh on them continuing to try to cram things in and cram it down your throat, because the courts have already ruled on this, we need to stay away from it. But along the same lines, again, going back to 2013, the executive orders, a lot of this other stuff, the vigilance on our part and we could do it even better now than we could in 2013 with our voices being heard to get out there and say, no, stop. We don't want this. Leave it to crap. Leave it alone. And if you notice something, there's a lot of, I'm going to call it fear mongering because it's what it is. Do we need to be vigilant? Yes. Do we need to pay attention? Yes. But we need to be doing that on a bunch of different issues, to be quite honest with you, in this country. And you notice, did you notice anything with the debates? Did you notice anything with the debates this cycle that was completely missing? Do you want to know why? I could tell you why. I'm not a political analyst, but I play one on YouTube for today. That's fine. It's because of the however many, some say 7, some say 2, some say 5, some whatever the number are, new firearm owners out there, and the sentiment around all of that that's been going on this year. They stayed away from it. That says something. That says that they know that we're aware. They know we're watching. They know the ranks of firearm owners have swelled in 2020, and it makes them uneasy. So moving forward, if we do get a Biden Harris, whether we've got I got to get the mice out of my pocket, whether Republicans have the Senate or the House or however that is made up, I'm a wait and see kind of guy, because that was the way that the Tea Party and everybody thought Obama was going to be. He come in and he had this big grandiose idea for Obamacare, right? And so he used his political capital those first couple of years to ram through Obamacare. Well, what happened? People were unhappy when he was elected. People rallied, and Congress flipped. And then from then on out, he really couldn't do anything because there was no, you actually had a legit balance of power there, which I love to see. So I think the same thing, or I'm not too sure that the same thing is going to happen if you start looking at these little telltale signs. And the people that are gloom and doom and stoking the flames and discontent and wanting to create drama to get the views, they're not going to talk like this. They're not going to tell you this. But the fact that none of that was mentioned in the debates. And if you look at some of the things, especially during the Democrat debates, look at some of the common theme things. Yes, okay, they talked about gun control, sure, but they also talked about some really big issues that there is not near as much contention on, like let's do some free college stuff and some of these other things. So is it more likely that they're going to get in and use all that political capital, if they had it, to try to ram through gun control that not only you have stout opposition for, but you have added opposition in 2020? Or are they going to come in and use that capital to put through the Biden-Harris Free College Act of 2021 and be something in the history books with their name on it? Like Squibb says, a piece of legislation that, if that was to pass, probably would never get shot down. It would probably hold up to some type of constitutional scrutiny, because welfare social programs typically do, right? Which one are they more likely to try to utilize their political capital to do? And I see it as the handout, right? The handout thing, because we know Democrats are famous for that. They're going to give stuff to you, like the Obama phones, right? They're going to give stuff to you thinking that you're going to vote for them. And so that's the play I see, rather than we're going to expend all this political capital to take something away and pick even more people off and pretty much guarantee a Republican landslide in 2022.
So I got one here for you, Clover, because you were on DGS with me last night, and I think you had left before this question came up. And I don't remember exactly what was said, but it made me ponder this. Do you think if it comes out, hey, Biden and Harris won, he's getting inaugurated in January, all that fun jazz, do you think Dems use this 4 years as an experiment to ram through any socialist ideas they have or anything else, because they don't plan on having Biden obviously run in 4 years, because I don't think his mental state is going to be conducive to do so. So they say, you know what, we're going to take advantage of it and just ram through all this crap and see what sticks and see how outlandish we can get.
So just to interrupt you with a second on an idea there, not 4 years, 2, right? Again, balance of power, beauty of this country. They've only got 2. And most politicians are already campaigning for 2022 at this point. So they've only got 2. No, I don't think they run super far socialist, because that is the Biden-Harris ticket is not the super far socialist ticket. And I think that's part of the issue, is they're not playing to that. They're not really playing to that crowd. Biden was, and the whole combination of Biden and Harris don't make any sense anyway. And Trump would have been gobsmacked if it would have been I'm convinced of it, if it would have been a Biden-Gabbard ticket. I think Trump would have been there would not be any right now. There would not be any question. I think a Biden-Gabbard ticket would have steamrolled him. But that's a weird combination, because you've got the Pelosi's, the Schumers, those folks that are Biden's crew. That's Biden's group, right? Then you've got the AOCs and the Maxine Waters and the just out there, the Feinsteins, the out there people, right? So I don't even see that crazy of a shift on the social agenda, to be honest with you. You know, I think there'll be some public entitlement type stuff. Honestly, they're going to be like Obamacare in their mind. And Obamacare was good for some people, bad for others. And government absolutely, unequivocally has no business being involved in healthcare to that extent at all. Right. But in their mind, this was something they were giving the people. You know what I'm saying? The Obamacare was a social thing. It was doing good for the people. This was going to get. They always talked about how this was going to help so many people that didn't have health care and all this stuff. In their mind, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and in their mind, that's what they thought. And so I think they're going to go the same route. And it's going to be a college thing. It's going to be a minimum wage thing. It's going to be a universal health care thing. And as far as having bigger fish to fry with COVID right now and everything that's just wrapped up into that, from the economic impact to the societal impacts. Think about concerts and just all kinds of things right now, right? Movie theaters and you name it. I think that an incoming administration, especially a new incoming administration, should that be Biden-Harris, I think that they got their hands full with so many more pressing things, again, than poking the bear that is the established firearm community, 2A community, plus those new people that's been brought on board in 2020. I don't see it.
I'm not counting on those new people at all. Not 1%.
I ain't either.
If you own a gun, that doesn't mean you're pro 2A. And there's lots of people that keep saying that. Oh, we got all these new gun owners. Ownership doesn't equal advocacy.
Until they go to take it away.
Even then, I think these new gun owners will give them up. I think they'll all give them up.
I think you may be right. First of all, I'm not going to go all, because definitely will a percentage? Sure, I don't mind conceding that. Will a majority of the percentage? Well, that's debatable, but I could concede that as well. The thing is that they're going to have to handle the whole quote unquote civil unrest, the quote unquote rioting, whatever you want to call it stuff. That's going to have to be nipped in the bud and taken care of. That plays to our benefit with them people seeing the importance of needing said firearm, and then seeing the risk involved with letting the government, who is not doing, we all know the government can't freaking protect us. So that's just reaffirming that to these new people, that the government's not able to protect us, or they don't even try, right? Whether they're not successful or they don't try at all, either way, that bodes well for us, and that gives us the opportunity. Now, should they not try at all and try to take away that new firearm owner's new way to take personal protection into their own hands and guarantee the safety of their family?
Clover, you're looking at these people who have voted against the Second Amendment their whole life. You're looking at them with your values, with my values, with our values. They don't share our values. Guns became important to them because they're afraid, but guns are not even on their top 5 list. You know how you were saying the top 3 things there? All right. These people are more concerned about other stuff. They will give up their guns. A small percentage of them might change their mind, might become advocates. And I think there's a lot of people on YouTube that are hoping that they do, because they're just looking for analytics. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, these people have never been with us, and they never will be with us. There are people that have changed their mind about being a liberal and becoming a conservative over more things than just the Second Amendment. They've seen other things change. They've seen our country erode. They've seen our values. They've actually been burned by their own people and said, screw this, I'm changing sides. Guns are not the deciding factor. These people, most of them, a great majority of them, will never be our allies. And I do not welcome not one until I see them at the rally standing next to me, until I hear them coming on one of these shows as a panelist to say, I used to be this way and I'm not anymore. And this is why, and this is what they think. When I see that, when I hear that, then I'll welcome those people on an individual basis. But these people are still enemies of the Second Amendment just because they suddenly decided, hey, maybe I should get off my ass and get a gun and get some training.
Well, so do we have some type of opportunity, obligation? Is there a way
that's the first step
that we could?
And they're saying,
well, I'm just saying, is there a way that we can increase the percentage right, that does see the importance of it. And I think for me, I think part of that is to not come out of the gate and certainly not call out of the gate and start calling them an enemy because they haven't paid attention to the Second Amendment until now. Tone down the rhetoric and the demonization as much as possible, and potentially just get them out on the range and get them pulling triggers, because we all know that firearms can be stress relief, a lot of fun, enjoyment, and everything else, right? That's total backseat to the whole protection idea. And obviously, way in the back seat, plumb back in the bed of the truck from the constitutional right aspect. But that's where a lot of it starts, is the trigger pulling and, oh, this is fun, right? And then you've got the protection element plus the fun element. You've got an emotional bond with firearms, which a lot of us have that emotional bond with firearms. And so when you get legislation that says, we're going to take these away, people are more likely to go, whoa, wait a minute. It's like taking away one of my children or something, right? Because you have that bond with it. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. You're going to do what?
But in order to do that, they're going to have to change the way they voted their entire life, the way their parents voted, the way their grandparents voted, the way they've been indoctrinated to vote, the way all their friends, their family members, everybody around them votes. They may even have to alienate themselves from the people in their family. I mean, these households where one spouse votes one way and one votes the other. I don't know how the hell you live through that. I just don't get it. But the thing is, that's too much to ask. They're going to say, I identify with this more. This means more. I want to keep this. You're right. This is unconstitutional. This is wrong. This. But when it comes to election time, they're going to go, well, no, sorry. Going to keep voting the way I did because I just don't believe it. You'll have a very small number of people that will change. And if you go, well, then what we'll get them to do is we'll get them to write their senators and whatnot and say, hey, I've always voted for you. I voted for you. I'm a gun guy now. Leave the Second Amendment alone. That's not the party line. If I'm telling you, the Democrats would win more often, quite frankly, if they left certain things alone, if they left the Second Amendment alone, if they left income taxes alone, stuff like that. They would win without even having to try.
Yep.
But they don't want to do that because then that changed their narrative. And it's like, dude, just a couple little things this way, and you don't even have to. I mean,
right? Yeah.
And there's so many people that are out there that say, I voted for Trump, but welcome aboard, Mr. Biden. And it's like, what the fuck, dude? Really?
Well, that's a great point. I look at it and I'm not either way, Republican or Democrat. And I look at a lot of Democrats, especially here in Texas. I forgot what it was. Was it on Budget Chat last night or something? They were talking about some stuff. And there's some Democrats here in Texas that the only reason they're a Democrat is because the district, whatever area they're in, they have to have that D or they don't stand a chance of winning. But in Austin, they vote for the Republicans. And why? Because their constituents don't pay any attention to what they freaking do. They're just voting because they've always voted Democrat. You know what I mean?
You made that statement in the live chat last night, and the first thing I thought was, you're in an anomaly. In most places, they go one way or the other. If anything, there's Republicans that are those rhinos, right? Republican in name only.
Oh, it's that way too, yeah.
And that was some of the stuff I was hearing last night in the live chat that was pissing me off. Well, we can't count on the Republicans because all the rhinos and there's lots of Dems that are pro-gun. And I'm like, really? Because every time they have a pro-gun bill, I don't see them voting, maybe locally in Texas. And I'm not saying we should just kiss the Republicans' ass. Every time I call them the lesser of two evils, there's somebody out there who goes, don't say that. That's not good to say. But in my experience, in my lifetime, in my experience with everything, not just guns, taxes, the economy, things that are important to me, strong borders, our national defense, all this stuff. Republicans are less likely to vote against those things, the things that are important to me. Mm-hmm. So in that same sense, you couldn't get me to flip Democrat per se if, say, Joe Biden said, I'm pro-gun and my voting record proves it. I still might not. And in the same sense, you're not going to get those Democrats to flip and vote for that Republican because there's more to it than just guns.
Okay. I'm going to get a word in on my show, please.
Go for it, Rick.
Okay, couple of things. Kingpin, I'm going to go on what Kingpin said. These these new gun owners, right? Yes, they're going to give their guns up because if Biden's not in the White House, there's going to be no more riots. So I have no need for a gun.
Ding, ding, ding.
Right? Also, that's the way I think about it myself. I'm not saying there's going to be a few that are going to change. And even Patriot said it here. He knows people who are in the union, gun owners, but they were first in line to vote for Biden and gun control. That's just the way they are.
Yep, and that's something that's been that way around here forever.
And here's something I disagree. I mean, I like Ghost Tactical, but I'm sorry, he is totally wrong here. And let me find his statement. Hang on, where is it? Where in the hell? I lost it. Damn. Anyway,
it's in with all those ballots for Biden that are in your trash.
Talking about one item voter, more people like that. I'm sorry, for argument's sake, I don't care who you pick. Somebody you like, everything you like. This candidate that you're going to vote on. Oh, I like that. Yes, I'm with that. I'm with that. I'm with that. So out of his 10 things, you agree with 9 of them, but he's anti-gun. He said, I'm going to take your AR-15 away from you. And you're not a one-party voter. So you're going to vote for the 9 yeses, and you're going to give up your guns because you want 9 yeses and 1 no. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. I mean, you're giving up a right to have 9 things that are a maybe, that aren't a right. Or am I saying that wrong? Anybody understand what I'm trying to say?
No, because I just said that. I said I voted Republican. In my lifetime, I've seen more things that are less damaging to me, my family, my beliefs, all that come from the Republican Party at all levels, at different states, than I have from Democrats. I'm not a registered Republican, never have been, never will be, but I will vote Republican most of the time because, in my opinion, they are the lesser of 2 evils. They will do those 9 out of 10 things that I want. I cannot expect the other side to say, you know what, I've changed my mind on the Second Amendment. But that's one thing. The other 9 things I just can't give on. I've always voted Democrat. I'm going to keep voting Democrat. You will have some people that will switch. You have some people, and then you've got some people that go back and forth. They don't stand for a damn thing. But overall, I'm looking at Biden. I'm looking at my job. This guy is putting my job on the chopping block and a lot of people's jobs on the chopping block. And the president is going to have more effect on the economy. That doesn't always mean that they do. Clinton took the credit for the economy in the 90s, and he had nothing to do with it. But he was in office, so he took the credit. And he did make a lot of people feel confident about the economy. In that sense, he did have some effect on it. But there have been some presidents that have walked into a crappy economy and they can't do a thing to fix it. And there are other presidents that have enacted things. They've used their authority to change regulation that helps everybody. Trump has done things to reduce regulation and reduce taxes, which improves the economy for everyone. Biden has already said what he wants to do, and he can affect that. So I took that into consideration too. I didn't just look at the gun thing.
Yeah, but I'm not. I mean, if I'm trying to think at it. I wasn't looking at the. I'm sorry, but when it comes down to issues, there's loads of issues I like. And there's loads that the Republicans like that I don't. Not many, but there's a few. But when it comes to, I know I'm new to the gun world per se. I know that. But I'm sorry. Back to what I said. If there's 10 issues and 9 of them I love, but that one issue where he doesn't like, he's anti-gun, then I become a one issue. I'm not going to vote for him because of that one issue. I'm not going to give in to have the 9 maybes to go against the 1. I'm sorry. It ain't gonna happen with me.
I think there's less people that have that train of thought than the train of thought that you're against. I'm not saying you're wrong, Rick. If you believe strongly in that, then that's the way you should, that's what you should do. But I take a lot more into consideration, and most of the time, the Republican Party
for something that is not a guaranteed right.
Hey,
Okay,
can I get a word in?
Yeah.
I'm here at the lake house, and I go here every year with about 10 of my buddies. Every year we've been doing it for the last 20 years. I've been bringing a pistol up here and showing, doing my show and tell for the last 20 years. This year is the first year there's 4 new gun owners out of these 10 guys, and these 2 of them are hardcore 2A guys now. So, there are some new gun owners. They're all Republicans, but there are 2 new gun owners that are diehard, 2A guys. One guy's like, if Biden were to take it, it wouldn't be a big deal, to me. And everybody's like, shooting daggers at him, but it is. A lot of those new gun owners are Republican. They're not all, lefties. And I think those are just the people that have been on the fence and wanted to get a gun, and this is a year to do it. And they're they're hardcore 2A people. A lot of them are. It's got to be a big percent. If I'm seeing 4 people here buy a gun out of 10, right? So I think somebody's got to put in some of these calculations on how many GOP people are first-time gun owners in that percentage. It's got to be, if they're 2 million or 5 million or 7 million new gun owners. I'm not sure how many there are, but of those percentage, what percentage are Republican? What percentage are black that are living in a neighborhood that are going to have the police defunded? They're not going to want to get rid of their guns, like that guy in Chicago that fought for his right to own a gun, and won it with one of the far right legal groups. Can't think of which one it was, but there are some cases of both far lefties and far righties that want to keep guns.
But having somebody who's historically been voted Republican suddenly get into guns isn't a statistic that helps the Second Amendment community. I'm not saying they're not welcome. I'm saying that doesn't change a thing.
Why would you say it doesn't change a thing?
Because most of the time they were voting for the person who was going to do less damage to the Second Amendment.
Yeah, but I think there's a percentage of people that are pro Second Amendment, even though they're not a gun owner. There's
gun ownership. No, gun ownership is not a requirement, but some people seem to think gun ownership equates to it, and it doesn't.
That's probably true. They're not exclusive, but I think, like the one guy here said, if Biden were to take his gun, if they were going to take everybody's gun, and I'm like, well, it doesn't work out that way. A lot of people are going to keep their guns, especially the bad guys.
Yeah, somebody in the
or
chat
or the wealthy, right?
Right.
As I said, and as in my title of this show was, I will not comply. If they come kicking in my door, I'm not saying I'm going to start open fire on them, but I'm going to resist them, and they'll have to arrest me to take them away from me. I'm not saying I'm going to shoot the police as they walk through the door, but I'll put up a struggle of some sort. I'm not going to go quietly. I'm sorry, it ain't going to happen.
They won't mess with you, Rick. Like I said, those rich folks like you, they ain't gonna mess with you. I see all them ammo boxes there to your left, but I know they're full of $100 bills over there. I know.
Yeah. I wish. But now, anyway, we got so much to talk about. I'm still on the first topic, But what was the other thing I was going to talk about? I can't remember now. There was so much. Where's my list? No. Anyway, Anyway, there was what in the hell? There was something Squib said I wanted to carry on with, and I can't remember what in the hell it was. Damn, it's gone. I should have wrote it down, but that's my fault. So, anybody else got anything they want to talk about? Another topic?
I wanted to go back to the new gun owners thing with what Squib was saying. I agree with some of the things that Squib's saying, and some things not so much. Of course, there's going to be people, and you can take the new gun owners out of it. There's going to be people that have owned guns their entire lives that if they tomorrow said turn them in, they're just going to turn them in. We see things like that happen with buybacks. How many people were gun owners their entire lives and they're like, well, I don't want this getting out on the street. So, first off, what the frick kind of logic is that? But, it happens.
Very little with buybacks. But I mean, look at Australia, the percentage that actually sold anything back. And then if you go actually look at some of the stuff that is run through, there's plenty of YouTube videos on people that have done video with buybacks, and you're getting literally, they interview the people and, oh, I got these were my father's guns and I was afraid of them just being around the house and getting stolen, and they're like old 22s or shotguns or stupid crap that there's not quote unquote assault weapons and semi.
Yeah, I'm not even talking ARs or anything like. I'm just talking guns in general. But people do go do that stuff. And I think by just saying fuck off to the new gun owners, you're already marginalizing them and ensuring that they don't become 2A. They might just be new gun owners now, but I think we have a job to do to try and bring them to the 2A table and make them realize, hey, this isn't just about protecting my family. This isn't just about the fear that I had. There's more to this.
Well, it all has to start somewhere, right?
Yeah. Yep. And when the midterms come around, if they want to go with their old habits and stuff like that, then fine. Then we can say, all right, fuck you. Well, you did what we thought you were going to do, and see you later. But I think up until that point, we have a good opportunity here to, like I said last night, even if we retain 10%, which would be a phenomenal number, I think. Realistic, I don't know, but if we retain 10%, that would be a huge addition. And if of that 10%, we can make 10% of that hardcore 2A, I think that's a huge win. But if we are sitting here right now saying, fuck you guys, you're going to do the same old shit as always, we marginalize them already and we never get them into the fold.
New gun owners, fuck off.
Yeah. Hey, Kingpin's right. Where are my thumbs up here on my show here? I just wanted to mention that. I'm not getting any. So, all right. I know what I was going to talk about. Did you know, talking about rights, gun rights, the right to bear arms, which is in our Constitution. Now, I didn't know this, but do you know there's 2 other countries that have the same thing in their Constitution? Guatemala is one. And believe this or not, Mexico has that in their Constitution. But you can't buy a goddamn gun in Mexico without going through much red tape. I just thought that was strange. I read that somewhere and I thought, wow, we're not the only country that has a Second Amendment, or I should say the right to bear arms. Mexico has it and Guatemala has it. They're the only other 2.
Did you say, but they require a certain method constitutionally, or is it a shall not be infringed type constitution like ours?
Because I think Switzerland has a law that you have to own a gun. Every male has to own a gun. Because when you're in the Swiss Army, when you go home, they give you that gun. And
now,
you keep
the right to bear arms.
Okay.
3 countries have the right to bear arms.
Well, Switzerland's not on your list, though.
No, and actually, I've researched that they don't have to anymore have a gun.
Well, it would be interesting, and I didn't know that. That's interesting stuff. I'm going to go look up and see how those are worded, because it makes a difference. Having a constitution, a country that has a constitution that says you have a right to bear arms, is a much different, could be a much different wording than the government needs to stay out of your right to bear arms. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I didn't read into it too far. It was just a topic I happened to notice.
Yeah, well, there's that there's the Kennesaw, Georgia. That every house has to own a gun. I mean, they don't ticket you or fine you if you don't have a gun, but
right.
They do have it in the city ordinance that by law every home has to have a gun.
Yeah, that's one of those suburbs outside of Atlanta.
Yeah, Kennesaw.
That moron voted blue. So anyway, the next thing was, did you know that the Supreme Court, with our new justice on it, heard two 2A cases this past yesterday, and we should hear it Monday or Tuesday if they're going to hear them or not? Do you think it's going to make a difference with ACB on the court now?
So they took two into consideration. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they in conference.
Gotcha. Okay.
One was to do with a local gun ban in Boulder, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is to do from my old state I lived in, where a man's 2 firearms were seized. To do with the Fourth Amendment, but it's related with guns. You know what I'm saying? And this is to do with red flag law. They came in and they asked him to go get checked out at the local hospital to see if he was a danger to himself or others. The hospital said, no, he's not. They took his guns and they won't give them back to him.
Right.
That's one of the ones they listened to yesterday. So we'll find out Monday or Tuesday whether they're what's it called? They get a certiorari, whatever. Mm-hmm. Or they might delay it until the next conference cycle.
And it's important. Good Lord, if I even for whatever GunTube jumped into a separate page here, I can't even find it. Anyway, one thing to keep in mind with court cases, particularly the Supreme Court, we talked about this before, is don't get in a tizzy if they don't take it up, because literally if they don't use the right stinking font on the suit, and if wording's not right, if any little thing could be an issue where they kick it back down. So just caution people that are optimistic with Chasing Amy, Chili Cheese, Coney Barrett, 50 BMG now, that just because they kick it out doesn't mean we're doomed. We need to look at why they did it.
Yeah. So there we go. Anyway, real quick, let me do my quiz for last week, and it was an easy one, and I only got 4 entries to it, which is disappointing. But for the swag pack, and my question, what I wanted to know, where in the hell is it? I lost my page. Here it is. What I wanted to know in the TV show Mannix, I wanted to know what his personal sidearm was. And he actually used 2, but his main one he was known for was a Colt Detective Special. And I believe, in 38 Special, I believe it was. That's the answer I wanted. And I got 4 entries and 4 correct answers. So there we go. So let me hit my random picker to see who the winner is. Okay. 2 Live Moo is the winner. So there we go. Congratulations. I don't know if I got your mailing address, but if I haven't, if Tulai Moo, you were here earlier. If you can email me your mailing address, I'll get that off to you. Now, for the swag pack for this week, and I got a couple of, there's some stickers and a couple of patches in there and stuff. And this one might be a bit more difficult, but I want to know, I can't pronounce his name, but he was in the Second World War in the Finnish army, and it was called the Winter War. He has killed over 500 people. He's a sniper, right? Basically what I want to know is what firearm did he use? Give you a clue. He done it with iron sights. He didn't use a scope. And I want to know what his nickname. The Winter War was Finland against the Russians. And I want to know what nickname did the Russians give him. So what firearm did he use? And what was his Russian nickname that was given to him? They say he averaged, it was only over a period of like 100 and 110 days that he shot over 500 people as a sniper. And the reason he wouldn't use a scope, he didn't want the sunlight to reflect off the glass. So, plus he entered before the war in Finland. They must have been good gun people back then. He entered a lot of shooting competitions and he would win them all the time. So that's why he was such a good marksman. That's the information I was reading. And I can't pronounce his name. It's Simo Hatcha or something, Hayha, with a little hyphen over the A's. So I don't know how you actually pronounce it, but he was a Finnish military sniper. I want to know what gun he used and what was it and what nickname did the Russians give him. Email me at rickslifeasiseeit@gmail.com or spottedrick@gmail.com. And before we move on, because we've got some good topics here going, I do have a question. I got some great stuff from G-Webs here, and I want to do a good swag pack, but I want a really difficult question to make it worthwhile. I mean, he sent me some beautiful, some great patches here, and I got a couple of decks of playing cards and stuff like this. So I want to do a really good swag pack, but I want a decent question. And if anybody's got one out there, you think that would fit the thing, email it to me, please. I would appreciate it. All right, there we go. Moving on. So, what do we want to talk about? What's the next topic, guys? What's on my list here? So, basically, what I was saying I will not comply is I'm going to do a lot of, is it civil disobedience? Is that the word I'm looking for? You know, I'm not going to give in. I mean, even down, not to just with 2A stuff, but just life in general with this lockdown and everything else. I ain't going to wear a mask, you know, unless I'm forced. I mean, I say that. I mean, okay, here's my question. If every food store in the state says you got to wear a mask because the government's going to fine them or something, basically what they're doing is they're getting the big stores to do their work for them. What do? Do you starve or do you comply?
Do you want to know what position some of these big stores have taken?
Do what?
Do you want to know what position these big stores have taken?
Yeah.
These larger chains that are big, they're corporate. Their lawyers have told them, do not create a situation where somebody might get violent. We've had too many people that have been assaulted and killed because they were told to wear a mask. So some of these bigger chains, they're not going to tell you that. The store manager's not going to tell you that or any of that. But some of their lawyers have advised them, we'll take the fine before we take the lawsuit.
So they might give me a hard time, but they won't arrest me. Or
They might ask you to leave, and depending on what your state law is. For example, here, the health department can fine them $5,000 for each person not wearing a mask. But law enforcement in Michigan has said, we ain't arresting nobody.
Yeah. What I was thinking of doing, if this was like at Walmart, do the pickup groceries. Get them to bring them out to me to my car if I don't have to go in there. You know? But I mean, a lot of times I don't, I mean, I have me a shopping list, but I buy a lot of stuff when I'm in there that's not on my list. And so, if, you know what I'm saying? It's, Kingpin.
I was at Sam's Club today. I didn't wear a mask.
It also depends a lot on what you're going in for. I mean, I don't want people picking certain things. Even if I'm getting a gallon of milk, I want to get one with the longest date and probably one from the back. And, you know, I want to check eggs to make sure they're not busted and, you know, certain things.
Yeah, I mean, I get through the produce.
Yeah, produce is a big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That personal shoppers, you know, may or may not do good with that. I mean, some of them, you know, I know some of them that do that. My youngest daughter did that for a while. She was really good at stuff like that. But some people, it's just a job. It's just to make money.
Yeah.
But yeah, around here, let's see. I was in Walmart actually on the way home earlier today, and you know, I would say maybe 80% of the people in there were wearing a mask. I was not. But there's really around here, you know, it's not a big deal. I mean, most places don't even have signs on the door that say they require it anymore. Most places.
Oh, okay.
People still wear them. Don't get me wrong, but you know, I think it's gotten to a point now that wearing a mask is a trendy thing or something. People literally wear a mask just because they can wear a mask and they feel special, and it's maybe virtual signaling too. I don't know, but it's silly.
I mean, there's a lot of people around here with the mask and it has Trump 2020 written on it.
Right.
You know, so they got all these fancy ones now and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I don't want to wear one. I mean, now like I got to go to the doctor's office.
Yeah,
the doctor says you got to wear one.
Well, that's a little different. I mean, it's probably not a bad idea if you go to the emergency room or the hospital or the doctor's office. Probably not an altogether bad idea to wear a mask any freaking way. To be honest with you.
Yeah. I don't know, but it's just little things like that, you know. I'm not going to. I just don't. I mean, I feel. Well, I guess it's fear mongering. Is. You know, they've already tried this once on us, and 99% of the country went along with it. You know, oh, yeah, we're going to shut you down. Stay at home, right? Don't give a shit about your liberties.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, hey, I was just as bad to a certain degree. I never wore the mask, but,
you know what the Walgreens thing they do. I went in Walgreens with my two kids, two twins, and they just gave us masks about halfway through the store. Somebody just walked up with a box of masks and said, "Would you mind putting these on?" And we said, "No problem," and put them on, and you know, did our shopping and left.
Yeah, I mean, Ghost Tatnell said it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. I guess it's the principle of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it is. It is a big deal. It is. It is a big deal. It really is.
You know?
The mask doesn't do anything. It does nothing. If I thought it did something, I'd wear it.
And
it does nothing.
And for the love of baby Jesus, out of the 80% of people I said earlier that when I was in Walmart that probably were wearing a mask, I could guarantee you half of them, it wasn't covering their nose, or it was down around their chin, or it was, dude had this full beard that it barely even, I mean, it not only does it really not help, in the situation that they think it helps. But if you don't wear it properly, it doesn't help anyway. So if you're not going to enforce the proper wearing, and there's no way to do that, but if you're not going to enforce the proper wearing of a mask, then what's the point in enforcing wearing a mask at all?
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. Right.
Look, I understand if you've got a job to do and your employer says you put that mask on or you're fired. I get it. You got to feed your family. And I understand if you go into certain buildings, like a government building or something like that, and they're absolutely adamant and they got 4 sheriff's deputies standing there. And I can also understand if maybe you go into a place where you're a regular customer there, you know some of the employees by name or whatnot, and they're going to get in trouble. You don't want to give them a hard time, so you just tolerate it. But for the rest of it, for me, it's about me exercising my civil liberties. It's about me saying, don't be afraid. You don't have to comply with this. Nothing will happen to you. I've walked into stores and I've seen people look at me and they see I'm not wearing a mask and they rip their mask right off. I'm not saying I get everybody to, but on occasion, it inspires some people to take they're like, he ain't wearing one, fuck it.
Yep.
The other thing is, if a bunch of us went to the grocery store on a regular basis, not wearing a mask, not one person in the store, but 15 out of 100. Then the next time it's 25 out of 100. Then the next time it's 50 out of 100. They would not have any way to stand on that law, and they can't put us all in jail. And that's a hard thing, is about coordinating that. That's like what you're saying, Rick, you won't comply. I think that's probably our best way to deal with any crazy gun control that might happen from any politician anytime in the future, is to not comply. But you got to be smart about it. You got to be smart about it. If you don't want to wear the mask, keep the mask in your pocket. And if a cop shows up, put on the damn mask if you have to, or go, screw it, I'll take my business somewhere else. If they say, turn in your AR-15 and you hide your AR-15 and it never leaves your house, how are they going to know? You know, stuff like that. That's not complying, or that's playing it smart. But if you decide that you're going to stand in front of the store, rip your mask off and get on a megaphone and start spouting stuff, that doesn't help. If you're going to take your AR-15 to the range and they've been banned, that doesn't help. You got to be smart about that.
Or walk around the courthouse square with it, right?
Well, if it's legal, for example, right here where I'm at, it's 100% legal to do that.
Well, I meant if they said turn them in and you did that. That's what I was.
Oh, yeah. But on the other hand, if I'm walking around this courthouse square all by myself and I haven't filed the paperwork to say that I'm going to be there and that sort of thing, once again, that's an embarrassment too. You know, so I think if people are smart about how they refuse to comply, it could gain traction. But the thing is, I mean, you got that asshole that went into Walmart with the body armor and the AK. He wasn't breaking the law, but they ended up getting him on a technicality over that. You gotta be smart about it. You don't want to embarrass the community.
Yeah, I agree with exactly what you're saying there, Squid. That's what I meant by my I shall not comply. You know, screw it. They're not taking my guns. You know, as I said, I mean, if they ban whatever gun that I might or might not own, I won't take it out. I'll just keep it here, and they're not going to know, unless, see, conspiracy theory here, right? Theoretically, when we fill out a 4473, right? Yes, the gun store has to keep it for X amount of years. I think it's 20, ain't it? But when they phone it into the FBI are because it's all done by computer now, right? The FBI are meant to delete all that information at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You really think they are?
That's not how they're going to get your guns.
I think they are. Yes.
I don't think that's how they're going to do it. You know how I think they're going to do it? Turn in your neighbor. Turn in your spouse. Turn in your coworker.
You got pulled over. We come to your house for a domestic disturbance or a welfare check. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kids, we're going to play a little game in class today. Who has a mommy and daddy that has one of these? And then there's a picture, you know, the circle / Beretta picture, right?
Yeah.
And that's how they're going to get us. My governor, my moron governor, encouraged citizens of Michigan to fight with other citizens of Michigan who aren't wearing a mask on TV, live on TV. I recorded it. I'm like, I can't believe this stupid bitch actually said this. You think some other politician wouldn't be out there and get on CNN or Fox or any of these other and go, hey, America, the gun
went blue.
What?
And your state went blue.
My state didn't go blue. My state did not go blue. Rick, get your head out your ass with that stuff.
Michigan went to Biden. It went blue.
No, Michigan went to Trump. I am telling you, Trump won Michigan. There was fraud in Michigan. And it's not because I'm a sore loser. I'm telling you, there was fraud in Michigan.
Same in Georgia.
They called it for Biden then. That's more accurate.
What I'm saying, though, is if my governor will do something that crazy, you can believe that the president, whoever the president is, can get on Fox and address the nation and go, gun crime, gun violence is an epidemic in our country. We need American citizens to get involved. If you know somebody who has a gun and you think they're a potential threat, you need to report them. That will be how they get us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Ghost Tactical says, not saying anyone in this room, but most people who say will not comply will be the first to fold if they come to the door. You're more like right. But as I said, I will more than likely, I ain't going to shoot them more than likely. You know what I'm saying? But I will be a nuisance to them. What's the word for it when you interfere with them? There's a,
obstruction.
I will obstruct them as much as I can and everything else. They're going to have to arrest me to take my guns away from me.
Yeah.
And so I'm not.
I think some people out there are will not comply with commit acts of violence. I think they're getting those two confused.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, over in Germany, they put a tax per bullet, and that pretty much stopped people from shooting guns.
Yeah.
Well, they did that in Tennessee, and it didn't work out.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just that problem is back to Michigan and your voter fraud. Problem is, do you think it's going to make it? I mean, do you think it's going to go to court? Do you think the courts are going to flip it? Or is the fraud big enough to make a difference?
Depends on how far it goes and how much time there is. Look, if you want to win by cheating, then you're not the winner to me. They can put a little asterisk by your name. In sports, I know they get away with it constantly. There's lots of money on the line. And sometimes people get caught and sometimes they don't. It's big business. And you can say, well, politics is big business too. Okay, that's great and fine, but that is big business that affects me. Sports only affects me if, I got to eat crow over it or I got money riding on the game. But otherwise, though, cheating is cheating. I am not saying this stuff because I drank the flavor aid. I'm just this hardcore right-wing. I am telling you, I live here. People were going out and voting for Trump in droves. And I don't give a shit if a lot of votes came out of Wayne County. It's still not enough to topple the rest of it. It just isn't. And the way they did it is fraudulent. The governor got elected because of all the dope heads and all the complacent Republicans because Trump was in office. And we always talk about how apathy is a big problem in our community. We get lazy. Well, that's another thing that we're going to have to deal with no matter who is in office, in the middle of January. It's the apathy in our community is just, if Trump proves a fraud and is reelected, there's going to be people that are going to get lazy. Sure, ammo will come back into stock and gun prices will go down, but there are going to be people that get lazy. But do I want somebody who says they're going to do all of these things and other things that I do not agree with, that I do not think are good for America, to be in office to keep those people from being lazy? No, makes no sense at all. So, the midterms, great. That's wonderful. And will Michigan remember what our governor did in 2020 in 2022? That all depends on what she does in 2021. If she keeps this crap up, it's going to be too close to getting reelected. People are going to remember. But if she lets everything go next year, people have a short attention span. They have a short memory. They might. It really depends on what's on the ballot to draw people out to the polls. A lot of times in the primaries and the midterms here, people are lazy.
Yeah. See, now what I was saying at the beginning of the show was because of all this bullshit I've seen and heard about, right, and done stuff, is it, I mean, my confidence in the system is shot. So is it worth voting anymore?
Well, would anybody say that they want you to feel that way, so you just quit voting and then they have no opposition?
Well, they're going to win anyway.
Well, hey, I'm in Georgia and we got to vote, and I got to convince as many people to vote as I can so we can keep the Senate.
Yeah, I mean, because your state's gone blue too, ain't it?
I think it's been cheated to blue, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, that's the same because, same as Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia. I went to bed and Trump had such a big lead. I thought there's no problem here. Wake up in the morning and all of a sudden it's gone a different way.
So can I mention something real quick? We're talking about red and blue, and Patriot said something out there that I got into this too, conversation the last couple of days. When we're talking about a state being red and blue, we need to be more specific with our conversation about what we're talking about. If we're talking about the national stage, if we're talking about a federal presidential election, that's one thing. If we're talking about local state control or whatever, that's something totally different.
Yes, you're right. I was talking federal. Yeah,
because a state can be blue and vote red for Trump, and a state can be red and vote blue for Biden. That situation does happen. The makeup of the political parties within the state doesn't necessarily equate to the federal level.
Right. This is a pro-conservative state, but we go back and forth with our governor, and we go back and forth with some other things in the state of Michigan. Right. And Rick, I think you've been in a place where they're so one way, and they've been so one way forever, that you think that if there's a Democrat in the governor's seat in that state, then the whole state is Democratic. Or if that state went blue one year but went red the other, that state's Democratic. And that's not the case. Now, once again, like what Clover was talking about with the politicians, the local politicians where he's at, that's sort of an anomaly. Maybe Michigan is an anomaly where we can, vote in a Democrat governor and then vote in a Republican governor and then vote in a Democrat and go back and forth. And that may not be common in other places. I'm not saying that it's the best system or that it's a good system, but that's the way it's happened as long as I've lived here. And in some ways it keeps it in check, but I don't ever vote, vote for the candidate that says that they're going to do more harm to the state. I just don't.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Well, when I was going blue, I was talking federal, the presidential race.
I was in a buddy of mine got divorced, and he's in an apartment right now. And I went over there to see him and pick something up. And I noticed in the parking lot, there were half the cars had New York license plates. So that's what's happening in Georgia is all these New Yorkers are moving down here and changing their voting pattern and still voting,
Oh, yeah, they bring their politics with them.
Yep.
Yeah. Patriot in the Dark has joined us.
Yeah, I was just about that Supreme Court thing. If it goes to the Supreme Court that there's been any kind of voter things as far as like the voting machines, the algorithms, if anything's voided because of that, they throw it to the Congress or to the House of Representatives, and each state gets a single vote in there. And so that's where it was coming up. That's what I was talking about. I wasn't talking about anything local.
Oh, so you get one YouTube channel that says if that happens, we're going to win. You get another YouTube channel that says if that happens, we're going to lose.
It has been written out prior, so it's just one of those avenue things. That's all. What
happens if it goes 25-25? How many states?
If it's 25-25, I think Pelosi becomes president.
Pelosi until they figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, hey, she might not in the new Congress. She might not be the leader of the Democrats.
This is true. They're having a bit of a, and we've known that for a long time that the Democrat Party is in shambles.
Oh,
honestly, there's so much infighting there, which is a good thing for us.
Yeah, I think they're just going to pick AOC.
Well, yeah, but she's not old enough. She's not old enough.
No, I know.
See, here's my thing. It's very important for me that the fraud gets exposed, because if we don't, it's going to happen again and again. Your midterms, it doesn't matter. They're going to do the same thing, and it's going to work. And then in the next 4 years, they'll do it again, and it's going to work, 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 and that's going to lead to big problems down the road. Or they'll get people like Rick to go, screw it, why should I vote? It doesn't matter anymore. In which case, they still win, and they win, and they win, and they win. And the side that wants to take more of our rights away, the side that wants to make this country more socialist, the side that doesn't believe in the traditional American values that made this country great, is the side that is going to stay in control, not go back and forth and back and forth. Nobody's going to keep them in check. And before you know it, it's not just your guns that are gone, it's everything else. We actually will turn into our Cold War adversary. Isn't that kind of ironic?
But the problem is, we're a dying breed, Squib, because they're teaching kids.
I disagree.
I don't buy it.
I disagree.
Don't buy it.
Kindergarten's, I mean, we're just taking on the 2A thing. Kindergarten, guns are bad.
That's great until a certain point, but by the time they get to voting age, and especially once they get out into the real world, by junior high or so, kids typically are becoming rebellious anyway. And in the day and age of information and the power of Google Foo at their fingertips, they can spout whatever they want in school all day long. Kids are going to question authority. Kids are going to Google things, look, find different sources and everything else. They're much better at tech than we ever could have thought about being, and finding information than we could have ever thought about being at that age. And I think that's a net plus when you talk about them growing up to make more informed, better decisions and not succumbing to I'm not saying that that public schools and those institutions don't try. I'm not at all saying that. But I think we got to give kids, especially of a certain age now, itty bitty toddlers and 7, 8, 10-year-olds. Okay, maybe will believe whatever the teacher says or whatever. But as they get older, I don't see it. I don't see that happening. I just don't.
And that's
sorry.
I was just going to say, but that's because, when you're a parent and you let kindergarten teachers teach your kids everything, that's your fault. The parents have to stand up. I mean, my kid, she goes to a school that, you can't wear Star Wars shirts because they got a blaster. Well, she knows the difference. So it's still up to us.
Yeah, when I get told that I don't love my children because I don't homeschool them or send them to private school, I get pretty defensive. Because I went to public school. I did go to private school for a while too, but I went to public school. I turned out fine. My kids have turned out fine. My older son, he's been out of school for a year and a half now, and he's doing better than I thought he would. My younger son, I spend time with my kids to try to go over some of the stuff that they brainwash them with in school and just give them the facts. And I try to do other things to try to give them the information to let them make their own decisions. Because at a certain point, they're going to leave my house and they're going to do what they want. And I cannot protect them from everything. And I cannot control their lives or anything else like that. They may do things that disappoint me. I mean, I know I've disappointed my parents with some stuff. But then again, there's other things, not so much. They're their own individuals. All I'm going to do is give them what they need in order to make their own choices. But I can tell you that my older son, he just voted for the very first time. And when we asked him, who are you voting for? We didn't tell him who to vote for. He said, I'm not voting for the guy that's going to raise my taxes. And I'm going, yep, everything's going to be just fine with this one. My younger son, he is conservative and he's let us know. And I mean, I think it's in your involvement with your parents. The public schools can do whatever they want to do. Social media can do whatever they want. Family courts can do whatever they want. And to some extent, we are fighting an uphill battle. I will tell you as a parent who's had to deal with all that horse shit, we are fighting an uphill battle. But at the end of the day, the kids can watch a liberal, progressive, socialist agenda show on YouTube or TV and be entertained by it. But then they don't go vote that way either because they had something between their ears and they can think for themselves. Critical thinking is probably the most important thing that I've tried to teach my children. And I don't, it's not that hard to do.
It's a very simple concept, right? I don't sit down we'll sit down and we'll play whatever games, right? And stuff at the kitchen table or wood. We do not play poker. Why? Because I cannot play unless it's real money on the line. I don't play poker, right? So that's sort of what we're talking about. Until those kids have some type of skin in the game, it's a totally different situation once they're out in the real world and they have skin in the game. Like Squib said, he ain't gonna vote for the guy raising my taxes. I've heard every one of my kids say the exact same thing about taxes. You know, they know, they pay attention.
My 20-year-old son works 15-hour days. He's got money coming out of his ears. I'm like, damn, son, you're making as much as me, but he's working his ass off. And, you know, he filed taxes for the first time last year and got a tax return, and he'd never done that. And he's got the same frustrations with work like any other regular working person. I'm so proud of him from that. So when he's actually stopping to look and see how much they're taking out of his check and going, oh, hell no, I'm not paying for these deadbeats who call in sick and make me work 15 hours. I'm not paying their unemployment and their welfare and all their other garbage. They can get a job like me. I know that I have given him enough for him to have the ability to realize that and make that choice on his own without me twisting his arm or influencing him.
That's the good. Important part is to teach them how to make decisions. You could tell them all you want, but if you don't teach them how to make decisions, to look at something and what do you think of this? These are the two options. When they can make their own decision, that's better anyways, because that's going to cover more topics than you could ever cover in 18 years.
As much as I want to keep this going on, guys, we had a good show today. My cats are sitting here looking at me with evil in their eyes. Because it's past dinner time for them.
They're your time clock.
The what?
They're your time clock.
Oh yeah. They wake me up in the morning if I oversleep.
They're like, hey Rick, that's a wrap, dude. Come on.
Yeah, that's what they're doing right now. One of them was about ready to grab my leg. But anyway, I just want to say it's been a great show today. I really do appreciate it. Well, you guys, sorry to cut it short like this, but
short.
It's
45 minutes long, if anything.
Mind you, I gotta start being careful what I say. I got a text from my sister this morning. She goes, I just listened to your Wednesday show. She goes, I went, oops, I'm trying to think what I said in there. I hope I didn't say anything, bad about the family. So anyway, yeah, and my other, actually, I was quite pleased. My youngest son, he lives up in Kansas City. He's the one who's going to medical school. He was asking me. He said, "You remember that firearm that I shot of yours down in Florida?" He wanted to say, "What was it?" He said, "I like that." So I told him, about my M&P 45 I had and stuff. I guess he's thinking about getting one, So I said, because he's got a daughter now, So I guess I got a good, I got a granddaughter. So I think he's thinking about protecting them with everything going on. Well, that's good. So things are looking up. Anyway, let's get through the panel here for any shout outs or plugs. You got any guns and barbecue?
Going back to your trivia question, I'd just like to put a idea in people's head to look. I remember, this is a couple years ago that I saw it, but there is a video out there on YouTube that talks about snipers that have like the most kills, and the answer to their question will be found in that video. And if they're interested in finding out about other snipers with really high kills and whatnot, might be something to watch.
All right, thank you. Yeah. I mean, I was going to. I did have a different question earlier today, but I changed it to that one that I used because I thought it was a bit tougher. So that's any. You got any videos coming up that you're making?
Oh, I'm trying to limit it to about 3 a week, just because I figure people probably get tired of hearing my voice. But yeah, I'm putting stuff out constantly right now.
Okay, nothing wrong with that. Squib, you got any shout outs or plugs? And it's good to see you in the chat again after so long.
Yeah, if I remember, I've got a video I want to release. Maybe I'll do it after I get done here with this yard work and go in there and just hit publish on it about really good customer service. It might not sound like it at the beginning of the video, but if you follow it through, you'll get the whole point. Some videos, I think some people just get so far in and maybe they get sick of hearing the sound of my voice too. But if you follow the video all the way through, you might get the idea, maybe.
All right. Clover Tech.
What?
Any shout outs or plugs?
I was a good show, Rick. Good conversation as usual. My apologies again for being late. Yeah, check out the folks here on the panel. Check out those. There's several out there that was in the live chat, doing some good stuff, putting some good info out and all that jazz. Yeah, I picked up a new one from the local gun shop today. We'll probably throw up a YouTube short here a little later on, at least on that, to kind of tease what's going on. But yeah, other than that, just the normal thing. Look for stuff as I put it out.
All right. Patriot in the dark.
But I'm sorry I was late. I was playing around. I've been on the computer all day, so thanks for having me. If you guys want to get in on the Patriot 1776 project and you want to talk about real heroes, go check that out. Other than that, if you're like Midnight Range, and he was one of the winners, I have those Second Amendment Foundation memberships, and his is going to Travis McMuffins because I don't know his name. So, if you want to get into that, just go check that out.
Okay.
But thanks for having me.
All right. I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat who participated. Some good stuff going on in there. Really was. And I really do appreciate it. And I'll be back on Wednesday with Shooting with Disabilities at 7 p.m. Eastern, the only time zone that matters. So I want to say good night, good afternoon to everybody, and we will see you all later. Goodbye.
Peace.
Bye, Sabrina.
I didn't see her today.
I always say it.